The forbidden morning. The universe was old. Civilizations had risen and fallen. Empires had conquered and collapsed. But through it all, one rule remained untouched. A rule so ancient that no one remembered its origin. Never disturb the humans. No one knew who wrote these words. No one knew where they came from. They were carved into the deepest archives of every major galactic race. Some believed it was just a myth, a superstition passed down through the ages. Others whispered stories of an old war, a war that ended so violently that the universe itself had to forget. But the Talvok Dominion did not believe in myths. They were a mighty empire, spanning hundreds of star systems. Their technology was unmatched, their armies endless. They had crushed countless civilizations, absorbing their knowledge and power. To them, there was no enemy they could not defeat. And so, when their explorers discovered a sealed planet hidden behind an ancient energy barrier, they did not hesitate. "This world is abandoned," High Commander Vorton declared. "The energy field is weak. We can break through it easily." The Council hesitated. "This world is forbidden," one of the elder advisors warned. "It is said to be a tomb, a place we must never enter." Vorton laughed. "A tomb? Then it holds secrets and treasure. And I do not fear ghosts." With a single command, the Talvok fleet fired upon the barrier. The ancient energy cracked, then shattered like broken glass. A deep vibration echoed across space, sending ripples through the void. For a moment, nothing happened. The planet beneath them remained silent. Its surface was barren, covered in dust and ruins. No life signs, no movement. Vorton smirked. "See, just an empty world. Now, let's explore." Shuttles descended from the sky, landing on the planet's surface. The Exalvok soldiers marched forward, scanning the ruins. The structures were strange: tall towers, broken roads, and enormous underground entrances. Unlike anything they had seen before. "This is not an ordinary civilization," one of the scientists muttered. "This is something else." Deep underground, they found a massive door, thousands of meters wide. It was made of an unknown metal, untouched by time. Strange symbols were carved into it, symbols that no one could read. One of the officers frowned. "Should we open it?" Vorton nodded. "Break it down." The Talvok engineers placed charges against the door. The explosion shook the ground, but the door did not move. A second explosion followed, then a third. Finally, with a deep, mechanical rumble, the door began to slide open. Darkness awaited them. A vast chamber stretched beyond sight, filled with rows upon rows of strange pods. They were covered in dust, but through the glass, something was inside. Vorton stepped closer. He wiped the dust away from one pod. A face stared back at him. Pale, human-like, eyes closed, unmoving. A soldier gasped. "Are they alive?" A scientist checked the readings. "They are in stasis, frozen in time." Vorton's mind raced. If these beings were still alive, then this was not a tomb. It was a prison. His communicator crackled. "Commander, we are detecting something. A transmission." Vorton frowned. "From where?" The soldier hesitated. "From everywhere." A strange whisper filled the air. It was not spoken in any known language, yet everyone understood it. A message old and powerful, reaching across the stars. "They are waking up." The lights in the chamber flickered. The pods began to glow. The ground trembled. And across the galaxy, ancient machines, long thought dead, came back to life. Part 2. The First Awakening Kikani. The First Awakening. Silence filled the underground chamber. The only sound was the faint hum of machines, long dormant, but now slowly coming to life. Commander Vorton took a step back, his eyes locked on the glowing pods. The dust-covered glass panels were now clear, revealing the figures inside. Humans. Their faces were still, frozen in time, but something was changing. Their fingers twitched. Their eyes moved beneath closed lids. Shut it down. Vorton barked. Deactivate whatever we triggered. The Talvok engineers scrambled, pressing buttons on their scanners, but the systems were not responding. The technology inside this chamber was beyond anything they had encountered before. One of the pods hissed as steam poured from its sides. A soldier stepped forward, weapon raised. Then the glass shattered. The first human stepped out. Tall, broad-shouldered. His skin was covered in frost, his dark hair damp with condensation. He blinked, his breathing slow and controlled. His muscles tensed as if remembering something long forgotten. For a long moment, he simply stared at the aliens. The Talvok soldiers froze. No one moved. No one spoke. Then the human's gaze hardened. "Who are you?" His voice was deep, commanding. His language was old, yet somehow the Talvok understood him. Vorton gritted his teeth. He would not be intimidated. He took a step forward, towering over the human. "I am High Commander Vorton of the Talvok Dominion. We are the rulers of this galaxy. You are in our territory." The human exhaled slowly. His fingers curled into fists. His eyes flickered across the chamber, scanning the Talvok uniforms, their weapons, their body language. He understood everything in seconds. Then he chuckled. It was not a friendly chuckle. It was the kind of laugh a predator makes when it sees prey for the first time. Vorton felt a sudden, unfamiliar sensation. Something he had never felt before. Fear. The human looked around at the glowing pods. Hundreds. No, thousands of them, all slowly activating. "Tell me," the human said, taking a step forward. "Did you wake all of us?" The soldiers aimed their rifles. The human smirked. Then he moved. Faster than anything they had ever seen. 1 second he was standing still. The next, he had grabbed a soldier's rifle, twisted his wrist, and snapped the weapon in half like a twig. The Talvok barely had time to react. The human grabbed the soldier, lifted him effortlessly, and threw him across the chamber. His body slammed against the metal wall with a sickening crack. Chaos erupted. Soldiers opened fire. Energy blasts filled the chamber. The human dodged effortlessly, weaving through the attack like a ghost. He grabbed another Talvok, lifted him with one hand, and crushed his armor with sheer strength. Vorton's communicator crackled with desperate voices. "Sir, something is happening in orbit. Our ships are detecting." Then a loud boom shook the chamber. The pods. They were opening. One by one, hundreds of humans stepped out. Men and women. Soldiers, warriors. Their eyes glowed with ancient memories. Their bodies were stronger than anything that Talvok had ever seen. A deep hum filled the air. The entire underground facility began to awaken. Massive doors slid open, revealing colossal war machines buried beneath the surface. The first human, still smirking, turned back to Vorton. "You should run." Outside, in the dark sky above, something even worse was happening. Across the galaxy, deep in forgotten ruins, ancient human warships began to power up. Their weapons hummed to life. Their targeting systems locked onto the Talvok homeworlds. The universe trembled. The humans were awake. And they were angry. Part 3. The Fall of the Invaders. The Talvok fleet hovered in orbit above the Forbidden Planet, their sleek warships forming an unbreakable wall of firepower. Inside the command ship, Admiral Krell watched the surface anxiously. The expedition team had gone silent. No updates. No responses. Then, the first distress signal had arrived. "We made a mistake. Run." And then, nothing. Krell's mandibles clicked nervously. The Talvok Dominion had crushed empires. They had enslaved entire species. Yet something about this silence felt different. A junior officer's voice trembled. "Admiral, we are detecting." Boom! The entire fleet shook. Krell's eyes widened. What was that? Something just emerged from the planet's surface. The officer stammered. It's... On the main screen, a massive warship rose from beneath the surface. Ancient, black as the void. Its hull was scarred but intact. It had survived something no Xolvok ship ever could. And it was not alone. Dozens of them were rising from underground hangars, their engines roaring to life. Their designs were unlike anything in modern history, smooth, efficient, terrifying. Weapons began glowing along their hulls. "Are these human ships?" one of the officers whispered. Krell's stomach turned. This was impossible. The humans were a forgotten species, a myth. And yet, here they were. "Open fire," he roared. The Xolvok fleet unleashed a storm of plasma and missiles. Blazing energy beams tore through the void, heading straight for the ancient warships. For a moment, it seemed like a massacre. Then, the human ships moved. Fast. Too fast. Like ghosts, they weaved through the fire, their shields absorbing what little damage managed to land. And then they fired back. A single human warship released a thin, glowing beam. It sliced through an entire Xolvok battleship in one shot. Krell's blood turned cold. What? What kind of weapons are those? More human ships joined the attack. The Xolvok fleet wasn't just losing, it was being obliterated. Inside the command ship, alarms blared. Officers screamed. Then came the final horror. A signal, not a transmission, not a message. A pulse that echoed across the galaxy. The Xolvok homeworlds. The great capital cities of their empire. Their defense systems shut down all at once. The Admiral's screen flickered. A human face stared back at him. Calm, cold, unforgiving. "You should have let us sleep." Then everything turned to fire. Part 4. The hunt begins. The Xolvok fleet was gone. Destroyed. The once mighty warships that had terrorized countless civilizations were now nothing more than burning debris floating in space. But the humans were just getting started. Inside the ruins of the Xolvok command ship, Admiral Krell lay dying. His body was broken, pinned beneath fallen metal. His vision blurred as the emergency lights flickered around him. Through the shattered bridge window, he could see the human warships moving with precision, their black holes cutting through the void like hunting beasts. They did not chase survivors. They did not taunt or negotiate. They simply eliminated. Krell coughed, his body shaking. He had spent his life conquering, believing that Xolvok were the strongest in the galaxy. He had been wrong. The humans weren't just powerful. They weren't just skilled. They were predators. And the Xolvok had just woken them up. Xolvok Prime, the capital world. High Emperor Zalthar stood in the Grand War Chamber, surrounded by his generals. A hologram floated in the center of the room, showing the last moments of the fleet. The recording ended with a single transmission. "You should have let us sleep." The Emperor's hands trembled, his claws digging into his throne. "How many survivors?" he growled. A general hesitated. "None, my lord." Silence. Heavy, suffocating. Another general, his voice strained, whispered, "We must negotiate. If they are this strong, perhaps." Boom. The war chamber shook violently. The lights flickered. The Emperor's eyes widened. What was that? A panicked officer ran in. "They're here." The hologram changed. Above Xolvok Prime, massive black warships had appeared out of nowhere. They had jumped through space with impossible precision, arriving directly over the capital. For centuries, Xolvok Prime had been untouchable. Its planetary shields were the strongest in the galaxy. Its defenses had repelled every invasion attempt in history. But the moment the human ships arrived, the shields fell. Not from an attack, not from sabotage. They had been deactivated. The humans had control. Alarms blared across the city. The Talvok army scrambled, mobilizing their ground forces. Anti-air turrets locked onto the incoming warships. Then the humans did something unexpected. They did not fire. Instead, they sent a message. Across the planet, every screen, every device, every communication system flickered, showing one thing. A simple sentence. Run. The message repeated in every Asalvok dialect. Every citizen, every soldier, every leader felt it. It wasn't a threat. It was a warning. The humans were not here for war. They were here for extermination. Above, Salvok Prime. Inside the bridge of the lead human warship, a man stood watching the planet below. His uniform was old but pristine, the emblem of a forgotten empire glowing on his chest. He was one of the first to awaken, one of the first to remember. His name had once been feared across the stars. His title had once meant the end of civilizations. General Liam Voss. And now he was awake. He turned to his officers. Prepare the drop teams. The humans had spent millennia in silence. Now, it was time to remind the galaxy why they had been put to sleep in the first place. The hunt had begun. Part 5. The Fall of Salvok Prime. The skies above Salvok Prime burned. The human warships had not fired a single planetary weapon. They had not unleashed orbital bombardments. They didn't need to. Instead, they came down. The streets of the capital. The first contact. High General Vektal stood at the head of the Salvok army. His forces spread across the towering capital city. Millions of soldiers, tanks, war machines. They had fought countless wars, crushed entire species under their boots. And yet, he had never felt fear like this. The first human dropships landed in the streets, sleek and silent, their metal hulls gleaming under the burning sky. Their doors hissed open, and they stepped out. Not in the thousands, not in the millions. Only a few dozen. And yet, they walked with confidence, not like an invading force, but like apex predators stepping into their rightful domain. General Vektal raised his claw. Fire. The Talvok army unleashed hell. Plasma bolts. Rockets. Explosions. The streets trembled under the sheer force of the assault. For a moment, the battlefield was nothing but smoke. Then the wind cleared. The humans were still standing. The frontmost soldier, a towering figure in black armor, tilted his head. He wasn't wounded. He wasn't even scratched. Vektal's blood turned cold. The humans smirked. Then they moved. Faster than anything that Talvok had ever seen. One human vanished, a blur of motion, before reappearing behind a Talvok tank. Crack. With a single punch, he shattered the vehicle's armored hull. Another human leaped into the air, dodging plasma fire as if it was moving in slow motion. He landed on a heavy gunner, grabbed the alien's skull, and slammed it into the ground so hard the pavement shattered. The Exalvok panicked. They had expected a battle. Instead, it was a slaughter. The palace, desperation. High Emperor Zalthar watched the battle unfold from his palace. His generals screamed into their communicators. Nothing is working. They're too fast. They're too strong. Our weapons, they're adapting. The Emperor turned to his advisors. What do we have left? One of them hesitated before whispering, the final protocol. Zalthar froze. No. The final protocol was for extinction-level events. But wasn't that exactly what this was? With a deep breath, he gave the order. Do it. The last weapon. Deep beneath the palace, in the heart of the planet, a secret facility came to life. Ancient war machines. Experimental bioweapons. The last hope of the Tsalvok Dominion. They released everything. The ground trembled. Massive mechanical titans emerged from the depths. Towering war droids, each the size of a city, activated their plasma cannons. In the biolabs, horrific genetic experiments were unleashed, mutated beasts bred for destruction. The Talvok were done fighting fair. If the humans wanted war, they would give them war. The humans respond. General Leon Voss stood on the battlefield, watching the new horrors rise. A small smile played on his lips. Finally, he muttered, "Something interesting." He tapped his communicator. "All units, execute Phase 2. Across the battlefield, human soldiers stopped moving. Then, something changed. Their eyes glowed. Their bodies pulsed with power. They had been holding back. Testing. Learning. Now, the real fight was about to begin. Zolvok Prime was no longer a battlefield. It was a graveyard in the making. Part 6. The Wrath of Humanity. The air over Zolvok Prime crackled with energy. The skies burned, the streets trembled, and the once mighty Talvok Dominion stood on the edge of extinction. But they were not going down without a fight. Underscore 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 underscore. The final war machines. From the depths of the planet, colossal war droids stomped forward, their metal frames glowing with immense power. Each step shattered roads, each energy blast melted entire city blocks. Above them, bioengineered monstrosities leaped from the ruins, creatures built from stolen DNA, designed to be the perfect killers. Together, they formed the Zolvok's last line of defense. And yet, the humans did not flinch. They laughed. Underscore 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 underscore. The unleashing of true power. General Leon Voss stood at the front lines, his black armor reflecting the glow of burning buildings. He raised one hand, and his soldiers stopped. No one moved. For a moment, the battlefield was silent. Then, in a calm voice, Voss spoke. "Enough playing." Boom. The first human vanished, a blur of motion faster than the eye could follow. He reappeared atop a war droid, his fist glowing with energy. Crack. With a single punch, he punched through the metal hull, tearing out its core. The droid collapsed instantly. Another human soldier charged forward. A mutated beast lunged at him, its fangs dripping with acid. The soldier simply caught its jaws midair. With an effortless motion, he ripped the creature in half. The Talvok watched in horror. Their ultimate weapons, destroyed in seconds. Their final hope, crushed like insects. Underscore 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 underscore. The Emperor's last stand. Inside the palace, High Emperor Zalthar could only stare. His empire, the mighty Talvok Dominion, was gone. The humans had not just defeated them. They had humiliated them. His claws trembled as he activated his final escape plan, a hidden ship buried beneath the palace. But before he could move, a voice echoed through the chamber. "Going somewhere." Zalthar's breath caught. Leon Voss stood at the entrance, alone. The Emperor's guards opened fire. Voss didn't dodge. He didn't need to. The plasma bolts stopped mid-air, hovering inches from his body, before falling harmlessly to the ground. The Emperor stepped back, his mind racing. What are they? Voss took a slow step forward. Do you understand now? Zalthar shook his head. You were supposed to be dead. Your species was supposed to be. Voss smiled. No, his eyes burned with cold fury. We were sleeping. He lifted a single hand. The entire palace trembled. Metal groaned. Walls cracked. And with one final motion, Leon Voss closed his fist. The palace collapsed, burying the last emperor of the Tsalvok dominion beneath the rubble. Underscore 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 underscore. The message to the galaxy. The battle was over. The Tsalvok, once the greatest empire in the galaxy, no longer existed. But humanity was not finished. From the ruins of Tsalvok Prime, a single signal was sent across the stars. A message. A warning. You woke us up. Now we remember. And we are coming. The galaxy held its breath. Because humanity was awake. And nothing would ever be the same again. Part 7. The Return of the Sleeping Gods. The galaxy had lived in arrogance. For millennia, they believed they were the rulers of the stars. They expanded, conquered, and enslaved weaker species, thinking themselves invincible. They had whispered legends of an ancient force, one so terrifying that entire civilizations agreed to never disturb it. Humanity. And then, the Tsalvok broke the rule. Now, it was too late. Humanity was awake. And they were angry. The aftermath of Tsalvok Prime. The ruins of Tsalvok Prime still burned. The once great empire was gone. Not conquered, not occupied, erased. The surviving species of the galaxy watched in horror. From the core worlds to the farthest colonies, every government, every military leader, every ruler stared at the footage of the battle. And at the final transmission, "We are coming." Panic spread like wildfire. The Galactic High Council called for an emergency meeting. Every empire, every faction, every warlord sent representatives. For the first time in history, they stood together. Because if they didn't, they would be next. The impossible fleet. On the outer edges of the galaxy, scanners detected something impossible. A fleet. Not dozens, not hundreds. Thousands of human warships, moving in perfect formation. Massive vessels unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. They weren't just coming to fight. They were coming to cleanse. The Galactic Council's last gamble. Inside the Grand Chamber, the leaders of the galaxy argued. The humans must be stopped. We must surrender before it's too late. We should negotiate. Negotiate? The Supreme Chancellor of the Rosic Empire slammed his fist on the table. With what? The Tsalvok had the largest fleet in history, and the humans tore through them like paper. A deep silence followed. Then, a frail voice spoke. The oldest being in the room, Grand Scholar Vethis of the Eldari. We have spent centuries believing ourselves superior. His voice was barely above a whisper. We treated humans as a myth, a warning, and now they have returned. He looked at the assembled rulers. There is only one path left. The room held its breath. We must beg. The arrival. The skies above the galactic capital darkened. Humanity had arrived. Warships larger than moons, their metal hulls cold, silent, unstoppable. A single transmission was sent to the council. Not an invasion notice. Not a declaration of war, a simple, chilling statement: kneel. The leaders of the galaxy had a choice: fight and face annihilation, or kneel and accept their new gods. Because humanity was no longer just a species. They were a force of nature, and they would never sleep again.